So we're doing good. I'm gonna keep it going. This next guy.
Oh my God!
Have fun, Al. Have fun.
When did the Tourette's Anonymous meeting start?
Right now.
All right. I know you guys are sitting a long time. We're gonna keep it going so we can just pay attention to all the comics. We got a few more left. Let's just give them the same attention. If anybody needs anything, let them know. But this guy, when I met him, I was doing a little gig somewhere in Deerfield. He was sitting at the table, and the place was filled with Canadians that weren't going to listen to us. And I was like, this poor bastard, this is going to suck for him. And then I watched him, and then I met him, and he's turned out to be a great guy. Then I've seen him perform at other places, and I've had him do shows with us. Very funny. He started out doing magic in Central, what do you call that in New York? Times Square, when he was 15 years old. He's one of us. Yeah, I respect him. I consider him a dear friend. He's very funny. Please help me welcome to the stage my good friend Al. Al, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm from New York. I'm the love child of a Maltese detective and an Irish sorceress. Yeah, my mother was a psychic. She read tea leaves for a living until they invented the tea bag. Put her right out of business. There was no future in it. And her father was also a psychic, but he was terrible at it. The poor guy didn't have a clue. As a matter of fact, I can remember the very last words he said just before he died. He looked up and he said, "Oh shit, a truck." And you know, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor. But my mother said card tricks, rope tricks. People love magic tricks, but I wasn't convinced until my sister told me she was getting paid $500 a trick. And then I said, wow, magic, yeah, magic. Magic, that's for me, yeah.
Oh my God.
Now my father on the other hand, he said he didn't care what he did for a living as long as he could drink on the job. And he said if he couldn't drink on the job, he was going to turn in his badge and his gun. And you know how in the Midwest the farmers take their sons out to the field and they reach down, they grab a handful of soil, and they say, "Son, this is your past, this is your future, this is the soil, this is your heritage." Now my father used to take me to the park, Roosevelt Park, Belmont Park. He was a gambler. He lost absolutely everything. And one day he reached down and he said, "Son, this is horse shit. And this is why you're not going to college." But we traveled a lot in those days because my father thought he was in the Army. But then the Korean War broke out and I got drafted. They sent me overseas to entertain the troops. And while I was there, I fell in love with a beautiful girl on our show. And I took her out one night for a drive. The car broke down and I got out and I pushed. And she got out and she pushed. So I pushed and she pushed and I pushed and she pushed. And while we were pushing, somebody stole the car. And there was a hell of a night. I lost my car and I lost my virginity. But what the hell, that's show business, right? And after that I got into the ad agency business. It was the only business where you were required to drink on the job. My father would have loved it. He would have loved it. I was drunk for 34 years. As a matter of fact, if you look at the back of my driver's license, you can see a list of organs that I need. And I was so dumb, I was so stupid in those days, I didn't realize at that time that I could call an employee into my office, give her a raise, and then spend the afternoon with her on the couch having sex. I didn't know. I could have been a contender. I could have been in the news. I could have been somebody. I didn't know. Even as a kid, as a teenager, I was so naive. I thought safe sex meant your parents were away for the weekend. A padded headboard, maybe. I thought grape nuts was a venereal disease. And you know, I go back a long ways, a real long ways. As a matter of fact, I knew Joan of Arc. Really?
Woo!
Joan of Arc. Yeah, I didn't care for her. She had an attitude. But you know, people laughed at Joan of Arc, but she didn't care. She built one anyway. And I go back even beyond that. I really shouldn't tell you this, but I embarrassed myself at the Last Supper by asking for seconds. You know, the food was terrific. It was a huge buffet. You didn't know that. I don't think you knew that. And it wasn't really a supper. It was a late brunch. But they didn't want to call it the last late brunch. Just didn't have a ring to it. It was a long table. Jesus sat right in the middle next to his financial advisor. That was when he called the waiter over and he asked for separate checks. Smart. I thought that was smart. But the thing that I didn't understand, the thing that puzzled me, was we all sat on one side of the table. Now, if we sat on both sides, they could have fed twice as many people, at least. Twice as many people. And we didn't have cameras or cell phones in those days. We had a little guy, Moshe. He had a scroll and he had a piece of charcoal. And he's the guy who led the way, who influenced Da Vinci to make that famous painting. And if you look closely, you'll see that I'm the fellow on the extreme left. Yeah, and you know, the food was so good that I came back the next day. There was only one guy there, and he said, you know, that was the Last Supper. He said, did you try the pig's feet? They were terrific. He said they were next to the mead. I said, the mead, the world's first alcoholic beverage. I partook of too much. That's how we talked in those days. I partook of too much meat. And on the way home, 2 centurions pulled me over. They took my chariot license away, and they fined me 20 shekels. Now, 20 shekels isn't much unless you don't have 20 shekels. Then they throw you in the Colosseum fighting a lion. And I gotta tell you, the lions always won. Now, I said, where's Jesus? They said he's dead. I said, what happened? He didn't pay his check? They said they nailed him to a cross. I said, why would they do a thing like that? He seemed like a nice fella. They said that's what religions do. They have inquisitions, they have jihad, they kill people, they have holy wars. I said, maybe we could use a little less religion. You know, I'm Catholic. We don't kill people. We just molest them. And you know, all right, yeah. And you know, that's why I love comedians, because comedians kill, but nobody gets hurt. Did you know, as a matter of fact, did you know that comedians built the ancient pyramids? I know. You read in the history books, 10,000 slaves, years of hard labor. Not true. There was this guy, Farky Hollis. And he invented a building block. He invented a way of building that changed the world. He's the guy who invented styrofoam. Styrofoam. Now, he made these huge blocks, building blocks out of styrofoam. And he spray painted them the color of regular stone. And as luck would have it, a troupe of comedians was crossing through Egypt on their way to America's Got Talent. They were broke. They were broke. So for 2 shekels a day, he hired them to take the building blocks, pile them one on top of the other, a little Elmer's glue, quick drying in the sun. Bingo, they had a pyramid. The glue dried so fast that Farky Hollis got stuck in one of the burial chambers in the pyramid. And it wasn't until years later that a troupe of archaeologists with X-Acto knives cut through the styrofoam and found who they thought was King Tut. It was in the news, it was on television, they wrote books about it. Truth be known, it was Farky Hollis. But who knew? And what were they going to do? Go to the news media and say we made a mistake? It wasn't King Tut, it was really Farky Hollis? But now you know the truth. Go home and tell your children. Yeah, and you know, Farky Hollis was a funny guy, but he only told one joke. Actually, it was a riddle, and it goes something like this. How many pharaohs, that's right, how many pharaohs does it take to screw in a light bulb? And the answer? None. They didn't have electricity in those days. They didn't have washers and dryers. They had a Chinese laundry on every street corner with dead plants in the window and a fish tank full of algae and guppies. You know, you take 2 guppies, you throw them in a tank, pretty soon you got 100. Guppies don't practice birth control.
Oh no.
Guppies are Catholic. You know, I think I'm starting to hallucinate up here. I think, so before, because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But before I go, I want to tell you the real reason why I asked you to come out here tonight. I travel a lot, and I bring my mother with me. She's very old at this point. I don't like to leave her home alone. And it's expensive. 2 airfares, 2 hotel rooms, all those extra meals cost a lot. So as you leave this little cafe tonight, right outside you'll see a little old lady with a basket selling my latest invention, the zipper banana. You zip it down, you take a bite.
Oh my God, yes.
You zip it up, you save some for later. And she's very nice to talk to when she's sober, which is tonight. And we would greatly appreciate your business. My name is Al Callis.
All right, Al, yay!
Everybody,
Keep it going for Al. Come on, let me hear you.
yeah.
The guy could say anything and it would be funny. He could just, he's just amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so good job, Al.